Hello, hello, hello. Usually it gives me a little countdown when I'm going to be on here live, but no countdown today. That's okay. I am going to be here tonight with Katelyn Alberts from VERVERY, the Salon Finder app. She is local to the New England area, and I'm really hoping that she expands a lot. But her tag, which I love so much, is that she wants to be, now I gotta look at my notes. She wants to be what Open Table is for the restaurant business. She wants to be that for the salon industry, and I just love it. And we're gonna touch on what it's like to have a startup, what it's like to have imposter syndrome, what it's like to not have financial backing, what it's like to be a woman when you're starting up. So I am going to bring Katelyn on here. So fingers crossed, because technology is always challenging for me. And thanks for being here, everybody. Hi, everybody. All right. Let me see. Go live. And I also want to talk about I just love it when it works. There you are. Look at that. Isn't that so easy?
I made it. I did it.
Just for the record, just so everybody knows, this is Katelyn's first live. So we all know how stressful that is. If you haven't done a live yet, we get the stress. If you do lives all the time, we understand what that first one was like. I mean, I was like dripping sweat. So scary.
Yeah. My kneecaps are clapping because I'm just like filled with adrenaline, right? And there's like, only a couple people here joining, and it's still nerve-wracking because it's not like a reel where you can keep making like retakes, or you're not like dancing around to music, right? It's just you showing up as you. That's a lot.
It's a big deal, but I don't know, there's no other way to do it, right? You got to take everybody with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I was telling Katelyn, besides the fact that I always have such amazing conversations with everybody I go live with before we go live, so we just had the best half-hour conversation. And I was telling her I went live a couple of days ago, and my shirt on backwards, like that's just me. So you got to take everything. You're gonna be you, just be you.
Right.
So one of the things I want to talk about before we get into it is I want to talk about the power of networking and how we met, since I'm just such a huge believer in networking. And I can't remember if I slid into your DMs or you slid into mine, and not in a selling way, because there's a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're not even trying to like sell each other on anything. Like there's really no value there except being in each other's network and supporting each other. And that's the only reason that we had to connect, which is awesome. And there just isn't enough of that in our industry.
No, there isn't. There's a lot of that outside of the industry. There's networking groups for everybody.
Right.
Except the beauty industry. But I remember just I kept watching you, and I was like, I need to know more about what she's doing. And that's an honest and true connection. When the slide into my DMs and you're like, see, I'm going to do a whole entire post on this. The hey babe, hey boss girl, hey girly, hey darling, hey love. Like, I'm 54 years old. I don't want to be hey girly, hey love. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't.
Right.
That's a whole other post. So that's another. We'll save that for another day. Mm-hmm. But the way that we connected. And from the second we connected, I was like, we're like kindred souls.
Definitely. And to your point too, I feel like if someone slides into my DMs and they don't say my name, and they just use something like that, I'm like, did you even see my page? Do you see what's happening here? Or they want to know, like, if, you want to be something for their business that isn't even like relevant to what you do, it wouldn't even make sense for you. And you're like, oh, geez.
Right.
And then it makes you nervous to like slide into someone else's DM because you don't want that icky feeling, right? You don't want to give that to somebody else. So then it just like perpetuates this ongoing like ick.
Yeah, like I don't want to be the ick ever.
Right.
Exactly. The ick.
Mm-hmm.
No. So let's talk about your app that I think is just fascinating. And of course, I'm always poking you to go global, even though I know that's your goal and dream, but I'm always like, come on. So let's talk about your app a little bit and what it does. And let's
Yeah.
start with you, because I'm sure people are like, who's Katelyn? Who's Kim? We'll talk about it all.
Right. So yeah, I'm in the Boston area. I've been a hairstylist for like almost 20 years and I love being behind the chair. And a couple years ago, I just had this like itch that I couldn't scratch about like why it was so difficult to find hairstylists that you align with or the salon that you align with. We're all so unique and there's so many different like values and interests and needs and everything else. And we've just been so conditioned to like search for salons near me instead of salons for me, and because it's the only option we had, right? So now we're like forced to do like a song and a dance like every day on social media to try to like make these connections, which is just stupid. To be technical, it's stupid. So then like I kept thinking like there should be something like this, but I'm a hairstylist, so like why would I go and like build a tech company myself? That doesn't make sense, right? But like any other person that kind of has a mission, it comes for you. You don't seek it out, right? Like it keeps going through you, like running by you, and you're just like, oh, like go find somebody else that this is meant for, because I'm not it. But no one else is doing it, right?
Yeah.
So it turns out I'm it.
Yeah.
And so I started out just calling like software development companies, being like, hey, I kind of got this idea. What would it cost? What would it take to build this, right? So it turns out hundreds of thousands of dollars to build an app. So I was like, okay, well, I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to spare on this. So then I tried to do like a whole bunch of research. I tried to get into these programs that allow you to get funding, right? Kind of like when you go on to Shark Tank and you get like funding from those like investors, right? Like you pitch your idea, you have a little bit of like something like a presentation that they might be interested in, and they give you money, right? So because I'm like a hairstylist, right? Like uneducated, female, by myself, right? So like what, but on paper, right? I am not what they're looking for.
You don't have your master's in tech, whatever you need. Yeah. Yeah.
If you're like two white guys coming out of Harvard with like no experience behind like, your job, but like you're brilliant and you have this great idea, they'll throw money at you, right?
Right.
But women get 2% of the funding globally that gets allocated every year. 2%. So hundreds of billions of dollars, and women get 2% of it. So with that, I was like, okay, so like I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars to like have someone build this app for me. I'm not going to get funding by myself as it stands right now. So I was like, I'm literally only left with, I have to build this myself. So I ended up figuring out how to build the app on a no-code platform in order to...
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, that means I don't have to be a coder, like a software developer, to do it, right? Still very difficult, but at least I was able to do it. And like a lot of other startups, you start out like teeny tiny, right? So like one of the things that I was telling you about was like Airbnb.
Those stories, they were so good. I love those stories. But I think let's tell them a little bit about what the app does.
Oh, okay.
And then let's go into the those stories you were telling me, because I love those stories.
Yeah. So, well, you really nailed it. It is like
what VERVERY does.
Yes. So it's meant to be like an Airbnb or an Open Table or like a Wayfair, or like any sort of marketplace that you would go to find exactly what you're looking for, right? So you go onto the app and you can either search by salon or you can search by hairstylist. You can plug in all the things that you're looking for, and then only the matches that fit with your criteria pop up. And then you get to go to these profiles and see details that you're not going to find anywhere else. What the vibe is, what they specialize in, what the amenities are, hiring details about, are you commission or booth rent? What sort of growth opportunities do you have? Like, what benefits do you have? Like, these things aren't standard in our industry like they are in a lot of like corporate industries, right? It's all over the place. And a lot of times if you're a hairstylist and you're trying to find a new salon and you have hundreds of formulas, you might want to find a salon that like uses the same color line that you use. So this information is so hard to find that is sort of what the app is built for and how it works.
I love
And
that. And then I love what you were explaining to me too, like if you want to work at a curly hair salon or, somebody who specializes in bridal, like if you're looking for a job, you can punch that in, or a stylist or a salon that specializes in that also pops up.
yes, yep. Yeah, all kinds of specialties, mostly focused on hair. There are like some like additional things like makeup, tanning, nails, stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
which I would like to expand to later, but hair is really my niche that I like really truly know and understand and all the little
Yeah.
inner workings of it. So I'm starting there. But yeah, so that's how it starts. And with any marketplace, right, you need to like start off in some small way, right? You need constrainment. So mine is to Greater Boston, and you need to have a lot of options in one place to get people on there, right? If you go to a dating app thinking you're going to have a whole marketplace of men and there's like 2 guys and you're not interested, then no one's going to show up, right? So you need the value is in the masses.
Yeah.
So once I fill out this area, then we can expand out further.
I love it. Well, I see big things. I see big things for it. But I love the stories that you were sharing with me about Zillow, the Airbnb. What else did you? Oh, Grubhub or whatever. Like just to get
Yeah.
back to that startup company vibe that makes it look so easy.
Right. Right. So like a couple like great examples are like the Airbnb. There was like a couple guys, they started with one dingy apartment in LA, and they were like letting people stay on air mattresses in their apartment while they were out trying to pitch this idea to get funding for it. And everybody was like, "You're crazy. No one's going to want people staying in their houses. Like this doesn't make sense, blah blah blah. It's like not safe." And it took them 11 years to get off the ground with that idea. And now look what it is now, right? It's so hard to get people to adapt to new ideas. And then with Grubhub, just the idea of starting small. They were in like one neighborhood in Chicago for so long, and then they got funding and accelerated. And then with Zillow, we were talking about how like it's crazy to think like they're still not profitable, as big as it. Like who hasn't used Zillow ever, all the time?
Everybody,
Yeah.
everybody did.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the hard part about startup. But at the same time, it's the most exciting part about following your dream and just how hard it really is. Like you and I are both on the ground levels of something that's completely different in the beauty industry. And there's been so many other people that have unbelievably great ideas that have come out of this whole shift since the pandemic. I mean, there's so many amazing things that people are doing out there, but it's hard to get it going.
Yeah. You
hard.
really just like don't get how easy it is to be the talent of your business until you like actually have to run an entire business and do all this stuff that you don't know how to do, that you've never done, and be expected to be good at it, right? And like do it proficiently. Man, just like being behind the chair is like so easy.
That's like when you go from behind the chair and you want to be a salon owner.
Exactly.
And it's like,
yeah.
But now I'm going to be a salon owner. It's like, oh my gosh, I actually didn't know you had to do all those things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more to it.
Right.
And beats the
you have to learn zoning and like SEO and like, accounting. Yeah. So many boring things we don't like.
So I actually do like that stuff. That's the weird. I have like 2 sides to me. Like I love the creative side of hair. I love doing hair, but I love the business, that backside too. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
So like when we're talking about doing new things, right? It's like this is your first live, which I'm just going to tell you, you do an amazing job.
Thanks.
But when you do step out of your comfort zone, and this goes for anybody in the beauty industry, anybody that wants to start something new, if they're watching, whatever, anytime you start something new, you gotta step out of your comfort zone and do stuff that you just do. You want to do, but you don't want to do. I was literally just listening to a podcast on the way right before this, and she was talking about we all do the easy things, when you have that list of things and there's that one like really gnawing thing that you really need to do. That's what's going to catapult you and your business. But you're like, I don't want to. I'm going to do my email sequence first. I'm going to do that first.
Right.
And you do all
the
easy stuff. So we were talking about, having imposter syndrome, showing up authentically, which, like I said, you're going to get me with my shirt on backwards sometimes. You're going to,
Yeah.
I'm going to have technical difficulties. I'm going to have my face too close to the camera. I do that a lot too. I just
Right.
backed up. I saw myself like this. I was like, okay, back up.
But you do it with grace and you're like totally okay, like just being flawed and imperfect and going with the flow and like just being cool with it. And like if it wasn't for you literally dragging me out of my cave being like you need to do this, I'd still be hiding in the background, right? So thank you for dragging me out and making me go outside of my comfort zone because it is hard. And I do feel like as hairdressers too, and like obviously I'm not speaking for everybody, but I feel like we're so good at like matching people where like energy wise
Yeah.
where we need to be like we're with our clients, like we're either like we're matching their energy or we're balancing it out if like they're nervous or they're upset or something like that, and we feed off of that, and it's a skill that we all have.
Mm-hmm.
So then like just showing up as solely you with nothing else and not having any energy to bounce off of
Mm-hmm.
is scary, especially and to do it in front of the masses and not being able to do a retake.
Nope, no retakes.
Right.
No, but I mean, even, me dragging you out of your comfort zone, somebody had to drag me out of my comfort zone too. It's just like a chain reaction. And if you're around people, you're like, I swear, when you get to the other side of that, it's going to be okay. You're going to feel so much better. And you're going to go over to your page, which I hope everybody's going over there and following. You're going to go over to your page and you're going to do lives now like that.
Mm. We'll see. I hope so.
I mean, anybody wants to give any feedback? I can't see any comments or anything. I don't know if there's any comments, but let us know how Katelyn's doing on her live. I think she's doing great. But
Oh, thanks. But you're such a community builder. You're so good at that. I love it. I admire it.
thank you. That's what we're all about. I mean, we are nothing by ourselves. And
Right.
that's how I felt for, having my salon for 30 years. And 30 years ago, nobody talked to anybody. I craved, I wanted to be around people who knew more than me, or just somebody I could ask a question like, hey, did you ever try this? And 30 years ago, we didn't do that. So I want to change that, because we all love when we get together. We love that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're, oh my gosh, did you ever do this? Did you ever do that? I don't care if it's hair,
Mm-hmm.
business, whatever it is. We talk about energy that we all have in the beauty industry. When we get together, it is like electric. It's amazing.
Totally, totally. And it's like we know it, but yet it's so hard to get out of like get the masses out of like the starvation mentality, right? Where there's so much fear.
Yeah.
And I try to post about that sometimes on Instagram too, about like just in Massachusetts alone, right? Like I think there's 6 million people that live in Massachusetts, right? But there's only like 9,000 hairstylists, right? So when you do the math, every single hairstylist in Massachusetts would need to have almost 700 clients to take care of everyone. Like, there is no competition except for you. Like, there are way too many people to serve. So just like reminding people of that, I feel like is helpful too, as well as like getting together and building community. But having the numbers, I think is, I don't know, it's just if you're a numbers person, which I am, it's like tangible.
That just actually blew me away. And that's only Massachusetts. So
Right.
imagine
Yeah.
every place else.
Mm-hmm.
That's only Massachusetts. That's crazy. 700 clients. None of us have
Right.
700 clients.
Right. I mean, if you do, please let me know what you're doing to to live a life. But yeah. And same thing like on the app, right? Like we have a ton of options on the app right now, right? But there's so many filters of things that differentiate us that like if you do three things that you plug in, you've already narrowed it down to just a couple people. It's amazing how quickly, things get deciphered out when you're being very specific and intentional about what you're looking for, because there's something for everybody.
Right. God,
Mm-hmm.
that's like, that was good. That was good. But yeah, I think you've got an amazing thing that's just bubbling, bubbling under the surface, and it is going to boil over. It is.
I
I just
hope
knew it.
so.
No,
I
it
hope so.
is. But, we got to get you that funding that you need first off. You know,
Right.
However, I don't even know how you start with that stuff. How do you even start?
Yeah, well, because I'm a woman, I had to build the app myself, right? And
Yeah.
then now that I have like proof of concept, I have traction, stuff like that. Now, I could probably go out and start pitching and they might be interested, right? You just, as a woman, you just have to work a little bit harder.
Hmm.
You have to do more,
Yeah.
which is sad. But it's just the way that it is right now. And even though I said, I said like 2% of funding is allocated to women. Actually, Massachusetts, in particular, as progressive as we are, is even worse. We're only 1% for the past year. 1% got allocated to women. Yeah. So, I'm just going to keep trekking away and doing my thing. And it's going good, right? I'm by
Yeah.
myself. I'm out of my mind, crazy,
Yep.
but but it's all good.
Yep.
And it's been fun. So, and like you said, if you can't have fun doing what you're doing, like what is even the point?
There's no point if you're
Right.
not enjoying it. A good lesson for anybody watching. Like, if you're not happy doing what you're doing, do not do it anymore.
Right.
Do not do it anymore. And I just saw that Rob jumped on here. Hi, Rob. Um,
Ooh.
One of the things that we talk about is that none of us, like, we've got this little cluster of us that are not brand affiliate. Like, we don't have brands backing us up, which
Right.
a lot of different companies have these big major brands that fund them and market them and do all these things. So for us to take our one little person and get out there and try to do all the things, it's challenging.
Right, right. Yeah. And being brand agnostic is like, it's challenging in that way, but then at the same time, you're not bound to anything. Like there's so much freedom of where you can go and what direction that you can take it. So, it definitely has has its pluses and minuses, but one of the things that I wanted to touch on as I saw Rob come in here, and I see your comment, Rob, thank you. But one thing that he said a couple weeks ago, which was really impactful for me, is that like there is no such thing as work-life balance, right? Which I've struggled with so much, right? Like just out of my mind. My daughter's watching Dino Ranch right now. I'm like behind the chair, building an app, like everything else, right? I'm out of my
Yeah.
mind. I'm never gonna have work-life balance, but I can have work-life harmony. And
Mm-hmm.
that felt so much more attainable and approachable for me. I was like, okay. So like I can, and something about like that verbiage
Yeah.
like just made sense to me. I was like, I can do that because I'm never going to balance it and I have to be okay with it.
It takes the pressure off.
It
There
does.
is no work-life balance. Sometimes you've got 80% life, 20% work, 90% work, 10% life. And that's just go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's the best thing for my clients not being brand affiliated. That was Rob.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more about that, Rob. Jump in. Jump in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love
I
it.
would put a lot of restraints, as hard as it is to do it alone, even though, um, it can be a little inspiring for people out there who are thinking about doing something on their own. Like, you can do it. It takes a little bit longer, might be a little bit
Mm-hmm.
harder, but when you, again, make the right connections with people and network, and don't be shy about that. Like, the importance of networking in our industry is amazing. And I've been networking with people not in our industry too, which has just been mind blowing. I've met so many people that have just changed the direction of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, it's been life altering. So like that power of connection is so important. The
Mm-hmm.
network, huge.
It's funny too. I feel like when I first started on this journey, I needed help from so many people. I had no idea what I was doing, right? Like so many people starting a new business. And now that I'm like a couple years in, I have so many people circling back to me looking for help. And I'm like, oh, thank God I can give that back, because I was just soaking in so much and I felt like I wasn't really giving anything in return.
Yeah.
But you are, because like people do love to help and they love to give advice. They love to share their opinion and they love to talk about their walk, you know, that they went through. So, you know, it all feels good when you're networking. And it's so funny, even just the other day, I had a guy that like he isn't even in this country, circle back to me and he was like, hey, I was just reaching out to like all different kinds of like accelerator programs, and I saw that you're in the Babson one. Oh my God, how is that? Put in a good word for me. And it was just the way things like circle back globally is crazy.
It's a big world out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big world. And you know, what I'm doing with the Salon Owners Networking Group, if it wasn't for the Women's Business League, I mean, and I reached out to them, they're, you know, a national networking group for business women. And if I didn't reach out to them and I was like, hey, I want to create something like you have, but I want to do it for the beauty industry. And that was, they shared so much with me and still sharing so much with me. So it's just
That's awesome.
put yourself in the right place, right? That's the other,
Yep.
with the right
I
people,
love it.
with the right people. And it's so, I love coming on these lives, and what we always think that we're going to talk about, we don't always talk about. I think it's great. So I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for being here for your very first live.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you for making me do it.
It's been awesome. And I want people to be able to find you, like where you are. Where can they find you? What's your Instagram and your website and all of those things? How can they find out more?
Yeah, so my Instagram is _VERVERY, which is spelled VERVERY, and it's ververy.com. And yeah, that's all of them. That's everything you need to know. And then you can download VERVERY in the App Store too.
And slide into your DMs, as long as we're not trying to
Right,
sell.
right, right, exactly. I'm happy to talk to anybody in my DMs.
Same. Just skip the boss babe, the girly, the hey love, the hey darling. We can skip all those names.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Katelyn. Well, I know we're going to talk again soon.
Very soon. Yep.
I just want to say thank you for being here. I want to thank everybody for showing up with us tonight.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks for being here. A lot of familiar faces, so thank you. And until next time, thanks, Katelyn, and we'll see
Thanks,
everybody.
Kim.
All right. Bye.
Bye.